Hey guys, welcome back. So before we get started on today's lesson, I have a really silly bell work question that is actually related. You just may not see how it's related right away. So take a minute to answer these questions, hit pause, and I know it seems really silly, but it is related to today's silly lesson. So hit pause and answer these questions. So, silly question, right? You've got an average. You want to find the average of your grade. You have an 80% and a 90%. So, duh, your current average is an 85%. Easy enough, right? All right, how'd you find that average? Okay, yeah, still going elementary school on you here. You add the 80 and the 90. 80 plus 90. And then you divide it by 2, right? Simple. 170 divided by 2. And that's where that 85 came from. All right. How does that average compare to your original two numbers? How does this 85 compare to the 80 and the 90? Well, it's smack dab in the middle of 80 and 90. Your average is in the middle of an 80 and 90. So it's basically the midpoint. Aha! That is the title of today's lesson. The midpoint formula. Why learn a formula? Just find the point in the freaking middle. That's all we're going to do. So, here we go. Today's lesson. Okay, from the start, even though we kind of already said where we're going, let's plot these points. This is kind of hard to do with this pen I have, so I'll do my best. 1, 1, over 1, up 1. Did I get it? Okay, so I plotted those 2 points. Took me a few tries because my pen is very thick. All right, now we're going to try to find the point in the middle of those 2 points. So just estimate it right now. Just literally try to look at it and find the point in the middle. Okay? So did you come up with that point right there? All right, well now let's write down the coordinates of that point. That point is over 3 and up 4. So let's label it with an M for midpoint because it's in the middle. That midpoint would have coordinates 3, 4. And that's just by estimating it. I can kind of sort of check it though. Let's see, to get from the first point I go up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. I'm doing the same thing for both of them. So I feel pretty confident it's in the middle. All right, but we don't want to have to graph every time we're trying to get the midpoint. So let's compare this midpoint now with our original coordinates. Literally, this 3 is the average of the x's. Add up the 2 x's and divide by 2. 1 plus 5 is 6. Divide by 2, you get 3. Is 3 in the middle of 1 and 5? Yup. Separately, do the y's. Add up your y's. Find the average of the y's. Add them up, divide by 2. 1 plus 7 is 8. Divide by 2, you get 4. The midpoint is literally the average of the x's to get the point in the middle of your x coordinates and the average of the y's to get the point in the middle of your y coordinates. It's that easy. So try to remember midpoint. Find point in middle, but just do your x's and y's separately. Now, of course, there is a midpoint formula because, that's the title of this. And here is the midpoint formula. This x sub 1 here, this little x sub 1 just means if you have 2 points, x sub 1 would be your first point. X sub 2 is your second point, the x's and the y's. It's really not that necessary to memorize it as a formula. Just find the point in the middle of the x's and y's separately. Okay? So let's apply this very easy formula to a couple of problems. I don't think we'll have to do very many before you get it. All right, so find the midpoint. I'm not even going to write the formula. Some people like to line up the 2 points up and down so you can see the x's and the y's separately. If you want to do that, you can. But it's no big deal. Pick out the x's, find the point in the middle. I'll call it M for midpoint. Okay? Add up 4 plus 10, you get 14. Divide by 2, you get 7. Is 7 in the middle of 4 and 10? Yep, I found the midpoint of the x's. Do the same thing for the y's. Add up -2 and -6, you get -8. Divide by 2 to get -4. On the number line, is -4 in the middle of -2 and -6? Yep, you're good. That's the midpoint. Simple as can be. Next one, okay, take the x coordinates, add them up, divide by 2. -1 plus 7 is 6. Divide by 2 and you'd get 3. Okay, and again, double check. 3 is in the middle of -1 and 7 on the number line. Okay, now look at the y's, 5 and -8. Add them up. 5 plus -8 would be -3. -3 divided by 2 would be -1.5. Or -3 divided by 2 is just -3/2. Get used to leaving it like, big school fraction. Same thing though, either way. They're both right. Okay? That's that. Find the point in the middle. Okay, for this next one, make sure you read the directions carefully. This time, they're giving us one endpoint, which they're calling A, and they're giving us the midpoint. We have to find the other endpoint, which we can call it whatever we want, but I'll call it B. We have to find the other endpoint that makes this the midpoint. Okay? I'm going to show this two ways. I'm going to show it graphically just so that it makes sense. But there's really a quick way to do this problem without graphing and without formulas. Most people use formulas, but I'm going to show you just a common sense way, okay? The main idea here, just make sure that your midpoint is actually in the middle, okay? So, let me go ahead and show you the shortest way first, okay? If I want, let's focus on the x's. I have a 2 and a 5. I need to find the other x coordinate right here that will put 5 in the middle. So just think, to get from 2 to 5, you had to add 3. Add 3 more to the 5 and you'd get 8. Is 5 in the middle of 2 and 8? Okay, 2 plus 3 gives me 5. 5 plus 3 gives me 8. 5 is 3 away from both of them. Okay, you can kind of just do it in your head. Follow the pattern. 2, 5, 8. Okay, let me do the same thing now with the y coordinates. -2 to -6. I want the -6 to be in the middle. So follow the pattern. From -2 to -6, that's -4. So subtract 4 more and you'd get -10. Okay, follow the pattern. From -2 to -6, you'd go left on the number line 4. Go left 4 more, you'd get -10. This is the answer. That's kind of my shortcut way of showing it. I'm going to show it again in case that didn't quite stick, but very sloppy. Here's my answer, 8, -10. Okay, now let me show it by graphing. Okay, so now I'm going to show it graphically. I plotted the 2 points, okay. A was an end point, though. That's this guy. M is supposed to be in the middle. Okay, so M has to be the midpoint. I should have used a bigger coordinate plane, but we can estimate it somewhat. So if I want M to be in the middle, then the other endpoint obviously needs to be like out here, right? Somewhere out here? Somewhere about here-ish, right? So let's count the squares and see if we can figure out where that would be. Okay, from the first point I go down 4 and over 3. So go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 3 again, 1, 2, 3. And that's your other endpoint. Okay, and then you could write down what those coordinates are. Well, when we went down 4 and over 3, down 4, that was the same as saying, when we did this, that was the same as saying to get from -2 to -6, we went down 4. So then we go down 4 again, and that gave me that -10, the y coordinate. When I went over 3, that's because on the x's from 2 to 5, that's right 3. So we added 3. So we add 3 again, and 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay? So, the moral of the story, the shortcut here. Okay, let me erase all that. if they give you the midpoint, you just need to make sure that this number is in the middle of the x's and this number is in the middle of the y's. Let's try another one. It's so hard to see, since I can't see your faces, it's hard for me to see whether or not you're understanding. Okay, you can always graph it, but I'm not going to graph this one. I'm just going to try to do it the other short way, okay? So I need to find the other endpoint that's going to make, I need to find the other endpoint that will make this point be in the middle. So think to yourself, what do I need to do to get from -1 to a +4? Okay, from -1 to a +4 on the number line, I would have to go right 5. So I'm adding 5. So do it again, add 5 again, and you'll get 9. Now let's do the y coordinates. To get from 5 to -9, on the number line, to get from a +5 all the way to a -9, I have to go left to 0 and then past the 0. So I have to go left 14. So go left 14 again. -9 left 14 more would be a -23. Okay? You can also now do the midpoint formula to point A and B and make sure the midpoint is in the middle. All right, if you have questions with that, let me know. Send me a message. Hopefully that was enough, but if not, let me know and I'll help you out. Good luck with your assignment. It should be pretty straightforward. See you next time.